Well, hello there in YouTube land and welcome back to the channel. And today, well, we're riding that beautiful thing, a Fat Boy with a 114 engine. And well, I'll tell you all about it and why did I choose to ride this bike. I love these demo days because I can ride any bike that I want. Today I picked the Fat Boy because I miss my Fat Boy. Now this bike is so beautiful. The problem is, even with that little sissy bar, it breaks the aesthetics, right? So it has such a beautiful line, you don't want to mess it up with anything, but it's not practical if you just keep it stock. So that's one of those things about the Fat Boy. Now, if you notice, now they changed the wheels on them. So everything we were complaining about, I guess Harley finally found out that it was true, that the disc wheels do have an issue with the wind. So let's see how this one rides as compared to the 2018. I'm pretty sure it's going to be sort of the same, but one never knows. Oh man, I love it. Now I'm wearing sport gear, so this is weird. Look at that beautiful CVO. Okay, so obviously it feels so much different from now what I'm used to with the Street Glide. This one feels a lot stiffer, the suspension, because it's a soft tail, right, instead of a touring bike, and it also feels a lot smaller and nimbler. So yeah, but oh man, that big fat tire, you feel it right away when you try to do a slow maneuver. But I still think that this bike is a little bit easier to handle in slow speeds because it's not that heavy. I mean, it is a heavy bike, but not compared to a Street Glide. So why did I pick a Fat Boy to ride today when I've already ridden one for more than a year? Well, it's not that I don't know how it rides, but I just wanted to do a demo, guys, so that you guys will understand what a Fat Boy is, what are the pros and cons of having a Fat Boy. So in 1 year that I rode my Fat Boy, there was not a day that I didn't enjoy riding it, because I mean, it's such a pleasure to ride. The only issue with this bike is that it's not really practical, because it's so beautiful. As I was explaining, you don't want to put anything on it that is going to break the aesthetic. So if you're going to ride, if you're going to commute or you're going to tour, you need some things, you need to bring stuff. So that means wear a backpack. And I don't know, I don't like riding with a backpack. After a long trip, it hurts your back, it's just too uncomfortable. It also changes the way you feel on the bike. So yeah, I don't like riding with a backpack. And yeah, if I were a millionaire, right? Let's say some old uncle that I've never knew about dies and I inherit millions of dollars, this would be the first bike I buy. But as a school teacher, having this bike is not practical. So that's why, another reason why I traded it in for the Street Glide. On the Street Glide you have all these bags and stuff, and it still looks good. I just didn't like the way the Fat Boy looked with the CZ bar and the rack in the back and the bag. I mean, it was practical, but But I don't know, this bike is for cruising and for looking cool, for looking as cool as fuck, because this is what this bike is. This is the coolest bike in Harley stable, and I don't know, I would bet it's the coolest bike in anyone's stable. So what is this bike? So this bike is a cruiser with the 114 cubic inch Milwaukee 8 engine. Now that Milwaukee 8 engine on this bike feels a lot different than, let's say, a touring bike, because you feel it closer to all your controls. So it just responds a lot better, and so it has a whole bunch of torque. So when you hit it in the freeway, you're gonna get away from traffic no problem. And then even that big fat tire in the back, I don't know, it's just the way it handles is different from anything else you've ever ridden, and it is really a great bike. I mean, I love it. And like this, brand new, oh man, it's tough. It's a tough, I thought we were gonna turn here, but we're not. So hopefully we get a little bit more speed so we can have a little better experience, because man, I miss it. Now the seat is also a little bit como se dice, the opposite of soft, god damn it. How do you say stiff? Yes, the seat is a little bit stiffer than on the touring bikes, obviously, but this bike has a big seat where you can move around, so comfort wise it's not a problem. If you're riding long hours, you can move around, as opposed to something like the Breakout or the Fat Bob, where you have a nice cushy seat, but the seat just keeps you there. This one you can move around back and forth and have different positions if you start to get tired. Now, touring on this bike is not a great idea because it doesn't have any wind protection. And please, please, please do not put a windshield on this bike and destroy the whole aesthetics, because this bike is beautiful and you put a big windscreen on and it just looks horrible. So yes, you can do that, but why? Why would you do that? So it is one of the reasons that you don't buy a Fat Boy if you're gonna do that. Please, please buy a touring bike. Get a, I don't know, a Road King. The standard version is gonna be almost like the same price as this. One of the things that they did change for this year, I don't know if they changed. I think they changed it last year when they changed the wheels. They also changed the cap here. You only have one. On mine, you had a couple. So it was fun to have those Harley custom caps. That was one thing that I changed on mine. I also changed the mirrors and the grips. Look, these are the grips that come from standard from Harley. So if you're riding this bike or a bike like this at these speeds and in this weather, which is, it's a little bit damp, and but it's warm. Today is not cold, so you do feel a lot of grip. But if it's cold, you have winter gloves, these grips become very, very slippery, and look, they don't look so cool too either. So that's why many people like me, well, they change the grips on these bikes. The floorboards are something that a lot of people change, but I don't mind them. I think they look cool, and they're also very comfortable. Now, but after riding a Sport Glide, the old Sport Glide, because now they don't make it anymore, it's like the old Sport Glide. What I did find that riding that bike without floorboards, with foot pegs, makes it much more sportier. So yeah, it is a lot better to put foot pegs, I think, and just keep your floorboards if you want to do a little bit more of a longer route. But if you're going to commute on it, it's nimbler with the without them. And also, I don't know, I'm having a lot of fun riding with the sport gear on this bike. I just feel a lot more comfortable, and I feel like I'm much more in control than if you have the Harley boots and all that stuff. So What else can we talk about this bike? All right, so the brakes on this bike are much better than on the Street Glide, because they have a lot more feel and they have a lot better stopping power. It has to do a lot, obviously, that this bike is not as heavy, but still, they're not great brakes. I don't know if they've improved them or not, and I don't think we're going to be able to test them today that much. The back brakes on these cruisers, the Harley bikes, are always great, but the front brakes, well, they're not been made for speed and going on the track day, so they're not going to be great, and they're not going to hold up. I remember the first time I went on the twisties on the Fat Boy, the first thing I felt was the big fat tire, because when you are trying to, if you don't set the tire pressure exactly the way it should be, a couple of PSIs below 36 and 40 on the back, especially the back one, is gonna stand up on the corner. It's not gonna want to keep turning. But when you have the correct PSI, you put the bike, you drop the bike on the side of the tire, and you're gonna have no problems with it sticking to that line. Of course, that line is gonna be a wide line. You have to make sure that you drop it enough so that you can get some corner, not some cornering speed, but I'm talking about some actual turning, right? Because otherwise the bike will just gonna want to keep going straight. That's one of the things about well, the Fat Boy, but the look, this is all about the look, right? And since I'm an idiot, I feel like being cool and looking cool is very important. It shouldn't, right? But it's always been part of my philosophy in life, which, as I said, I'm an idiot. But that big fat tire is not functional, but it just looks cool. That's the whole point of this bike, to look cool. Now, if you're planning on buying a Fat Boy because you think you're gonna get a lot of ladies, because that's what a lot of people think looking cool means, well, not exactly. You're gonna have a lot of guys come up to you and say, "Oh, that's a nice bike. I used to have one, but my wife doesn't let me ride anymore because I dropped it and I'm an idiot." And you're gonna have a whole bunch of people like that. So yeah, it's not, especially if, okay, let's say you are one of those guys, right? You're single, you want to hook up with the ladies, you go to some bar and you pick up a lady. What are you gonna do? Obviously on this one, because it has the little sissy bar, you can. But I remember the first time I put my wife on the Fat Boy, she had to hold on for dear life because the seat, because of the way it's shaped, well, she was slipping and she was gonna fall back. I was gonna wear one of those t-shirts that read, well, if you can read this, my wife fell down, because yeah, she had to hold on, and we just had like a couple of blocks, and then she said, "No, I'm not comfortable, I'm not riding on this bike." So I bought the sissy bar, and then the sissy bar had an issue. The little cushioning pad kept falling off, and there was no way to tighten it up properly. So yeah, remember when I told you things that fall off of Harleys? Well, that was one of the things. I remember now, and I forgot on that video, but yeah. So this is the slowest demo ride I've ever taken. I don't know if it's because it's damp and it's overcast and it feels like it's gonna rain, or maybe just the my friend here on the CVO likes to take it easy on these demos, because usually we do get a little bit of torque challenge right out of the corners, or at least out of the curbs. Oh, right now I'm having trouble figuring out what gear to put the bike on so that I can keep up with, because, oh, another thing is I'm not doing the miles, I mean not the miles, the tachometer on this bike It's pretty terrible. It is just, you have to either pick one of these, how much gas you have remaining, or the time, that's the time, or the RPMs. So you check out the RPMs, and this is where you're gonna see the RPMs, and it's in numbers like that, and yeah, that's terrible. Come on, guys. Why not put a little tachometer in the middle here, even though it would be not digital but analog? That would work. So yeah, it's one of those things that I think Harley needs to improve if they want to keep selling these bikes. I understand you want to do old school stuff, and this is nice. Well, how about making it digital and then just look like that? And that way you can have a whole bunch of options, and like phone connectivity and different things like those, and having a much nicer look for the tachometer. Because yeah, this is terrible. Now, one of the things that I love about this bike is, well, the torque. You have, every time you just start from zero, it's impossible not to want to rev it out like crazy, because it just moves off the line pretty quick for a big bike. I love this bike. I mean, yeah, I do miss it. And yeah, as I said, if it was up to me, if I was a millionaire, if I didn't have to do anything except just cruise around, not worrying about going fast, not worrying about going anywhere, just cruising, I would go on this bike every day. I think it's just a lovely feeling. It makes you feel good about yourself, like, hey, I'm on this fat boy, I'm mean machine, and keep the motor green. Or what was it? I have no idea what I'm saying now. Such an idiot. All right, what else? So the tires, we talked about the tires, we talked about the engine, we talked about the brakes, the ergonomics. We haven't talked about the ergonomics. So the ergonomics on this bike are cruiser style, right? Pretty comfortable. You have this wide handlebars that look like beach bars, but they're not exactly. They are fat boy handlebars. I think they're patented. So at first I didn't like them a lot. I was gonna change them for a straight bar, like a drag bar from like the one the Fat Bob has, or the Breakout. But after a while you get used to it, as you know, yeah, it looks mean, it looks cool. And then you have the forward controls and your floorboards. We talked about the white seat. So yeah, it's pretty comfortable, but it's not for long touring. Now the suspension is something we haven't talked about, is very stiff for a comfortable bike. So it helps you if you want to hit the corners a little bit fast, yeah, because it can handle it. It doesn't look like a bike that's going to handle the corners. It's not going to be the fastest or nimblest, right? But I've had some fun on these. I had some fun on the bike, on the Twisted, on the Fat Boy, and the suspension. I don't know if you guys know this about why are they called the soft tails. Well, they only have one shock at the back, and it's hidden, so it's supposed to look like a hard tail, but it has a soft tail, so that's why they're called the soft tails. And it does a good job of handling minor bumps, but I remember a few instances when you have a big bump, the suspension is very short, it's going to rim it out really fast, so you have to be careful, you have to slow down. And another thing, now this bike is a little bit easier to actually stand up on than on the street glide, but it's not made for that, so you're not going to be really ready to stand up if you find a bump on the road. So you have to be paying attention, really careful. Now this bike is a little bit easier to find neutral than on, because it's a new bike, right? But I don't know if they improved on it, or I'm just being lucky, because Harleys have that little little detail. You're gonna have struggle finding neutral. So see how I have to